Tens of thousands of dollars spent on trips to theaters, amusement parks, even catering.
Yeah, these are just some of the pricey items paid for by the struggling Camden public school system. Here's Fox 29 investigative reporter Jeff Cole.
8, 3.
Emmanuel Rodon is a 10-year-old elementary school student.
15 minus 8 equals 7.
He's bright and friendly. His mom says he's on the honor roll and she's happy with his teacher. But she says she's fearful for his future. Fearful because the 5th grader is attending the struggling Camden public school system, a 13,000 student district serving one of the nation's poorest cities with a graduation rate of under 50%, well below New Jersey's average.
My son right now, I moved to Cherry Hill or another district. He's an A and B student now. He's not going to be an A student in another district. He's going to be a D.
It's the school's dismal graduation rate and poor standardized test scores which prompted the state to take over Camden schools in June. But it wasn't just the poor test results. It was the fact that in the 2011-2012 school year, Camden spent nearly $24,000 per student. On average, that's about $6 grand more per child than every other district in New Jersey.
We feel like there has not been enough scrutiny on where taxpayer dollars are going.
Kyle Olson is the founder of Education Action Group, EAG, a Michigan-based nonprofit which says it's nonpartisan and focused on education reform. He believes school districts are not helping kids when they spend big money on things like bowling and arcades. More on that in a moment. First, some background on Education Action Group. On EAG's tax form filed with the IRS for the fiscal year starting in January of 2011, the organization reported revenue of $5.3 million and expenses of $3.5 million. It does not release the names of its donors and would not do so when Fox 29 asked. EAG's critics claim the group calls for transparency in public education but fails to list its own donors. They also accuse EAG of being anti-teachers union. Olson says the group's focus is improving schools and accountability.
When you have huge amounts of students who are not proficient in reading and math, that's your primary mission. You're failing in that mission. That should be taken care of first.
EAG filed open records requests for the check registers of both the Camden and Trenton school districts to learn how they spend their multi-million-dollar budgets. EAG gave Fox 29 the results of its open records requests. We showed them to the Camden and Trenton school districts. Tonight, we focus on Camden. The district's big-ticket item, legal costs. In the last school year, Camden spent nearly $1 million in legal fees and services. The total, $987,564. Trenton schools, a district of similar size, spent about $500,000 less. Camden spent nearly $400 grand on professional development, training, and conferences for its teachers, and another $58,000 for student trips to the theater, from the Arden in Old City, Philly, to Broadway. The students of Woodrow Wilson High saw Wicked in New York for a ticket cost of just under $4 grand. The district spent $24,000 on bowling, movies, and arcades. School officials told Camden's Board of Education bowling at pin setters in Pennsauken would improve students' hand-eye coordination. A trip to the Flyers skate zone was described as a chance for students to expand muscle coordination, balance, and rhythm. And 20 grand in trips to amusement parks was meant to improve students' math and physics skills.
1.5.
Maria Rodon appeared startled by some of the expenses.
You're disappointed by the costs here.
It's disappointing at everything that we're hearing. Money-wise, come on.
Medieval Times is a themed restaurant in New Jersey. The district told Camden School Board over 13 grand was spent there so students could describe the role of people in medieval Europe. The startling total tab for restaurants and catering for Camden schools last year, about 87 grand. The new state-run administration of the Camden schools refused an on-camera interview. In a statement, the superintendent wrote, As part of our listening tour and evaluation of the district, we're working relentlessly to analyze past spending practices in Camden and intend to make the necessary changes to put resources where they matter most, our classrooms. Kyle Olson of EAG.
To me, it's very telling when you have these massive organizations that are spending hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. They're failing in their obligation to educate children, and they won't talk about it.
In total, Camden spends over $306 million to educate its 13,000 students, many from neighborhoods plagued by poverty. Likely a big reason why the school spent $160,000 last year on drug and alcohol and mental health counseling for its students. Jeff Cole, Fox 29 News.